Hi again, class. Welcome to week 2, and we are in the week 2 lab 2, the land use in Pinchot. No one knows how to say this name. All right. Anyhow, students often get confused with how to go about doing this lab, so let's sort of walk through some of the steps together. When you come into the textbook and you go to this week's lab, this land use lab, and scroll down a little ways, this is the lab that you're going to see here. I have problems viewing this lab in Google Chrome for some reason. It seems not to work. I don't know why. So I'm in Firefox. So if you have any issues, maybe try Firefox. I think Internet Explorer has some issues as well. So my first note to all of you guys is make sure you read these instructions very carefully. Particularly, the area to focus on up here a little bit in the species review. Make sure you read those very carefully. There you go. Oops. These, read this section. For some reason they've grayed it out here, but if you view it on a Word document, you can see it a little bit more clearly. Read this carefully, particularly as you're answering the questions. When you're trying to write down the connections and stuff, I can tell when students have not thoroughly read this. There's information in here that you will not get from just doing the lab, and it will come across. I will be able to tell when I read your answers. Okay, so make sure you read that very carefully. Read everything else, but that section particularly focus on it. Maybe read it a couple of times. Okay, and then scroll back down here to the lab. We'll get there eventually. With this video running, the computer runs pretty slow. Okay, so here we are, and this is what we see. Okay, so what we see here is initially we're at a 0% fragmentation. It's sort of darker gray, and this is what our picture looks like. We've got nice little forested land, and over here we've got a histogram that tells us how much spiny firegrass, blue bunch wheat flower, how much deer and elk, and how many wolves we have. Okay. Right now we don't have any of that because we haven't added that. So what we're going to do is go through and add each species in sequence and see what effect it's had on the overall environment and on the other species. Okay. So the lab really walks us through. We can't do anything. We can only add right now the spiny firegrass. This is the I think this is the spiny firegrass. Let's see. So anyhow, what we're going to do is click on this. And we've just added spiny firegrass. So let's notice where it's growing. And we see that we've got, with nothing else in here, there's no blue bunchwheat, there's no deer or elk, and there's no wolves in here. At 0% fragmentation, we have 1,755 spiny firegrass plants. So what we want to do is, in the Excel file that comes with the lab, we would want to add this right here, just where it says population 0% fragmented forest, add SFG. Click in here, and we type 1755. It will eventually show up, I promise. Okay. Now, I'm going to enter that. Now, that's the only thing that I have in this. So in this first column, all I should have is the SFG in here, okay? And now I'm going to go back to the lab. And now I'm going to add the blue bunch wheat flower. Right here. Click there. And we notice, look, the spiny firegrass dropped way down, and the blue bunch wheat flower went all over the place, okay? So, and whether that's good or bad, you got to make sure you read over those in that instruction really well, and it tells you why this may be good or bad or whatever. Okay? And we see we've got about 10,749. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is go back to my Excel file. And I happen to notice that so now I'm in the SFG plus I just added the BBWF here. So I happen to notice this was 324. Spiny firegrass, I'll get it right eventually. And then this was, I don't remember what the exact number is, but you can get the exact number. It was, I'm going to say 10,500, something like that. You get the exact numbers. I'm just showing you how to go about this. And there's nothing else. There's no deer or wolves in here yet. So we're going to come down to the next level. We're going to go back to here. And now we're going to add the deer. And notice the blue bunch wheat dropped way down. Spiny firegrass went up a little bit. And now we've got about 4,700 deer. Okay, so now we want to remember this number, and this number. Come back over. Go back over to our Excel file. This was, I don't remember, 1,100. Oh, this was 5,300 or something like that. And there was about 4,700 deer. Again, you figure out your exact numbers. I'm just showing you how to go about doing this. Okay? Now you're going to do the same thing. We're going to add the wolves finally and do the same thing. Click on that. Notice the wolves drop the deer and elk population way down. Blue bunch wheat flower goes up. And the spiny firegrass, goes back down. Now we're going to go back over to our Excel sheet, enter these 4 numbers into the Excel sheet at 0% fragmentation, and now we're done with the 0% fragmentation, okay? Next thing we want to do is repeat all of that at the 25% fragmentation. So I'm going to click on 25% fragmentation, and we notice that everything clears off. And now we've got some houses that are in here. And now we want to go through that exact same process. Click on the spiny firegrass. Record that number. Click on the blue bunch wheat flower. Record that. And now what we should be doing, I'm sort of rushing here, but what we should be doing is paying attention to where these things are growing, particularly like this spiny firegrass. Where is this growing? We notice it's growing sort of around the houses and on the periphery here. The blue bunch wheat flower is growing here in the center. Okay? Click on the deer. We see the deer sort of spread out around the edges here, and we get a little bit more of this blue bunch wheat flower, or the spiny firegrass around the houses here. So we want to pay careful attention at each one of these steps. I'm going quickly, but you should go a little bit more slowly and notice how these changes are, what's taking place. Where are these things showing up? Add the predator. And again, each step here, we're recording this data in our Excel file just as we did at the 0% fragmentation. We notice these wolves stay close here into the center. The deer are here outside because they don't want to get eaten by the wolves. The blue bunch wheat flower is nice here in the center. And the spiny firegrass is all around the houses over here. Okay? So use that information to help you answer these lab questions. If you need to start over, if you forgot, oh gosh, I forgot to include one of those data points, you can always remove one of them and sort of go back a step, or you can completely reset that entire lab. So I hope this helps you. Again, big points. Go through it carefully. Make sure you're observing where the different species are living. Make sure you're noticing how one species affects all the other species. And very important, again, read over those instructions carefully, particularly about the different species and how they work together, how they're related to one another, okay? I can tell when people, again, I can really tell when people read over this because they have very spot-on answers. When people don't do it, they give very loose answers and they end up not doing very well. So, hope this helps, and I know you guys can all just knock it out of the park this week. So, let me know if you have any questions.